Good afternoon. I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order. This is our closed session public comment. I have 3 speaker slips. Jeff Reich.
Thank you. Jeff from the RPOA. Thanks for having us. I just want to recognize that this council has had to make a lot of hard decisions along with staff. A lot of aging equipment, a lot of aging facilities that have been kicked down the road that this council has had to take up. And we recognize your efforts and we appreciate that. So we don't want that to be lost, in translation. But I'm here representing the people that have to use that equipment and work in those facilities. And currently, they're severely undercompensated, according to our salary survey. Out of 12 agencies, including our own, none of our officers rank higher than number 10 in their total compensation. Our goal as an association is to try to get those compensation packages up to at least average. We're trying to just get to average. That's the offer we've given to the city's negotiating team. I know that they have it. I know that you guys have those numbers. And that is where we're really trying to get to. Currently the health benefit that the city is offering covers about 3 out of the 12 CalPERS plans offered by the city. Our proposal will cover 8 out of 12 if the city agreed to that at the 2026 rates. We think that that's fair and reasonable. We're not trying to be unreasonable here, but we do need to take care of this. I made a presentation in front of you guys about staffing last year at this time, and I hit on the vacancies within the police department with our multiple enforcement team, the downtown team that this council approved 2 years ago, community policing, traffic, all of those positions are still vacant with the exception for one who's been the motor officer position. So out of all those vacancies, here we are a year later, and we've been able to fill 1 spot. We continue to suffer these vacancy problems year after year after year, and you saw the HR presentation at the last council meeting, and lo and behold, the RPOA is always the top or second place vacancy rate among the city departments. That's got to be rectified with at least getting a compensation package that is average within the Inland Empire. So as you go into closed session and you guys discuss these issues, we ask that you give direction to staff that we can get as close to that as possible, or if not reach that, so we can recruit and retain these officers and hopefully get over these years-long vacancy issues within the department. So, thank you.
Next speaker, Sylvia Lemos.
Hi, good evening. I first want to thank you all for always being supportive of the police department. As you know, I'm Sylvia Lemus. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of myself and the community service. I'm a community service officer and a member of the Redlands Civilian Safety Employees Association, RCSEA. For many years, our association has faced staffing shortages that have increased workloads and created challenges in providing services to our community. For example, we have been without a record supervisor for almost 2.5 years, and due to shortages, public access to records has been reduced for several years, and it recently has reopened to the public with limited days and hours. The city's own class and compensation study confirmed that many of our classifications are below market, with employees continuing to fall behind comparable agencies. Throughout negotiations, our association made efforts to find reasonable solutions that would address recruitment, retention, and equity concerns. Unfortunately, the city's LBFO does not fully address those long-standing issues. Tonight, I respectfully ask the council to recognize the dedication of the employees who have remained committed to serving Redlands despite years of understaffing and increasing demands. We are simply seeking a fair contract that supports retention, recruitment, and the long-term stability of the public safety services of our community who relies on. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Next public speaker is Eli Salazar.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Redlands City Council. My name is Eli Salazar, and I'm a member of the Teamsters with the City of Redlands. I'm speaking tonight regarding the city's last, best, and final offer and our ongoing contract negotiations. Early this year, the city completed a compensation study that found Teamsters are underpaid by an average of 12.5% compared to the market. These are the city's own findings. That number is significant and reflects a real ongoing gap that has not been addressed. Instead of resolving the gap, the city has attempted to reframe the issue by pointing to a total compensation and claiming employees are only 4.8% behind. However, that figure relies on including benefits such as longevity pay that many employees do not receive. A calculation that includes compensation not actually received by workers does not reflect the reality of what people are paid for the work they perform. At the same time, healthcare costs continue to rise sharply. The city's last, best, and final offer does not provide meaningful relief from those increases. Teamsters are being asked to absorb higher and higher costs while receiving little to no improvement in support. Our bargaining group is also being treated differently from other city employee groups when it comes to certain benefits. That is not a matter of interpretation, it's a matter of consistency and fairness. Employees who serve the same city should not be placed at a disadvantage compared to their peers. The reality is that this is no longer just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It is about whether the city is willing to address its own findings and act on them in a meaningful way. Teamsters have continued to provide services every day despite falling behind the market, rising healthcare costs, and unequal treatment in benefits. The Teamsters are the ones who keep the city running. We maintain the infrastructure, respond to the community needs, and deliver the services residents depend on every single day. That work deserves to be recognized in a contract that reflects its true value. I respectfully urge the Council to reject any framing that minimizes the compensation gap and to direct a contract that fully addresses wages, healthcare costs, and equitable treatment. Anything less fails to meet the standard set by the city's own study and falls short of what commitment workforce deserves. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Madam City Attorney, what do we have on our docket for closed session?
One item on the closed session agenda, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency negotiators John Bakhit, J. Trinnaman, Janice McConnell, and Jorge Castillo, employee organizations, Redlands Association of Department Directors, Redlands Association of Management Employees, Redlands Association of Mid-Management Employees, Redlands Association of Safety Management Employees, Redlands Association of Fire Management Employees, Redlands Police Officers Association, Redlands Professional Firefighters Association, Redlands Civilian Safety Employees, and Teamsters Local 1932 Redlands Chapter.
Okay, thank you. We stand in recess till our open session at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll now reconvene the City Council meeting, and I'll call on Councilmember Davis for the pledge and invocation.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Before we begin, let us take a moment to reflect on the responsibility we share as stewards of our community. We extend our gratitude to the city employees whose dedication, expertise, and daily effort keeps our community running. Their work often happens behind the scenes, but its impact is felt by every resident we serve. May we approach our discussions with respect, thoughtful consideration, and a commitment to the common good. Let us listen openly, engage constructively, and remember that our decisions affect the lives of our neighbors, families, and future generations. Again, thank you all so much for being here with us tonight. And now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam City Attorney, is there any report out of closed session?
There was no reportable action.
Okay, thank you. We have one presentation. Well, actually, we have two. I'll do the first one, and then the next one will be a Chief Sessler. The first one is our presentation to the International Day of Yoga proclamation presented to Roop Goyal. If you want to join me up front. So this is the National Day of Yoga, National Month of Yoga.
International Day.
International Day, thank you. And Roop has been here a number of months, a number of years on this month. And so we want to thank him for coming and acknowledging the International Day of Yoga. And I'll have him introduce who you have here today and maybe say a few words, and I'll present you the proclamation.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Sasido. So we have here a yoga instructor, Lakshmi Pillalmari Ketan. He reads about yoga practices. And I also do some yoga. I'll share a few things with you on yoga. So we all want to be happy, healthy, and relate very well to other people. So how can we achieve that? We can achieve that by inner peace that comes by yoga. And yoga practices are divided roughly into three bigger parts. One is called asana, which are postures. Second is called pranayam, which you know as breathing exercises. And third is dhyan, which is roughly people call as meditation. So they bring inner peace to you, and then you can relate very well to other and be happy and healthy with your neighbors, with your family, with your work, with your co-workers. And yoga has been part of the city for many decades. And Lakshmi ji has been teaching yoga, and her friends like Meena Jain, late Urmila Moore, they've been teaching yoga at Community Center, YMCA. So all you need to do is find a place where yoga lessons are available, like YMCA and Community Center and so on. Join them. We have a free yoga session this Sunday in Brookside Park at 8 a.m. And I have its flyer here, which is also on this table under the TV. Feel free to take a picture of it or take a piece of it. Share with your family and friends, and let more and more people be healthy and happy. Thank you. Lakshmi ji, you want to say anything? You want to tell about your yoga classes?
Namaste. Thursdays we have a yoga session from 6 to 7:15 at the Center for Religious Studies, Church Street, 602 Church Street. It is free, and I welcome all of you. And yoga is one of the things that you can't go wrong. So I feel that this is a stock. You invest and you always get gains, because even little bit that you do, you can see the change. So whatever you do, I can talk a lot, but I think.
Go ahead, come on up.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. Thank you, everyone, for being here. At this moment, I'd like to call Art Andres, a retired battalion Mitch McKee forward, and then firefighter paramedic Craig Roach and Thomas Rivera. If you guys come up front. And if Charlie, if you could play the video real quick. We have a short video, and then we'll just speak real quick about it.
So, can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you, Council, for allowing this to happen. My name is Art Andrews. I'm the director of the California State Paramedic Competition. This is an extremely honoring time to be here because of all the years that this competition has been going on. This is the first time that the city of Redlands has actually been awarded it. Teams compete from all across the state. That video is a little bit misleading because that was calming music. That was the finals, and it was nothing but calming because they actually had quite a bit going on. This competition started in 1990 by dedicated EMS professionals. We happened to be able to honor one of Redlands' finest. Chief McKee was one of the implementing people with Dr. Tammy Thomas from Loma Linda and Jim Holbrook, Dr. Holbrook from Crafton Hills College. So it was based in this community, and now we get teams from throughout the state. They're rigorously tested over 2 days. The first day is 2 scenarios, which are very challenging. The teams don't know what the scenarios are when they go in. The finals are even more challenging. If you look at that scenario, it was extremely stressful, and it's also in front of their peers. And so you have a very crowded field of people that are showing your skills and having to show that not only you're good, but you're at the top of your class. And so this is a big deal. This trophy's been around since 1990. We actually named it the Mitch McKee Award. So again, bringing it back home for the first time.
I'll say some, just on behalf of the fire department as well. These 2 individuals represent us at the finest level of our organization, but it's all of us together in public safety to do it. But couldn't be prouder of you guys. I was getting text messages of how well they were doing and that I should be coming to the ceremony, so that gave me a good idea of how they were going to finish. But I appreciate them representing us so well and the quality of care and the professionalism they portrayed for us and then the rest of our members here today. So thank you. Congratulations to both of you, and keep up the great work.
Absolutely. Come on, guys.
This is our fire department.
Okay, we're moving on to our public comment. First speaker slip is Bree Shavern and Austin Eli, and during the presentation will be Councilmember Davis. Oh, you can public comment, and then we'll take a picture. Come on up. Thank you.
Am I good to go?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and community members.
Our names are Austin Eli,
And Brie,
and we are with Building a Generation's Voices for Change student-led campaign. Our campaign aims to raise awareness of synthetic drugs primarily among the youth in our community.
as a part of our campaign, we researched Redlands Municipal Code Chapter 9.36 regarding synthetic drugs and related substances. Seeing that the City of Redlands has already taken steps to address this issue showed us that youth, safety, and community health are priorities in our community.
One challenge that many young people face today is knowing what information about drugs is actually true. A lot of what these people hear comes from social media, friends, or the internet, and it can be hard to tell what is accurate and what is not. This can leave them confused, misinformed, or afraid to ask questions because they don't want to be judged.
As students, we've seen that people are more willing to listen when information comes from someone they can relate to. That's why Voices for Change focuses on peer-to-peer education. We want to make those young people feel comfortable with learning and asking questions.
We aim to increase awareness, reduce stigma, and help ensure that students in Redlands feel informed and supported. We are doing this through social media outreach, classroom presentations, and open conversations with youth in our community.
What we learned through our campaign is that prevention education is often not youth-friendly. Students want information that is reliable, truthful, and free from judgment. We also found that the youth voices are often left out of conversations about prevention, even though they are the ones most affected by these issues.
To help address these gaps, we propose that the City Council include youth in city health and prevention planning, support youth-led prevention education efforts, and increase accessible youth-friendly prevention messages throughout the community. We also want to encourage the development of a youth prevention advisory opportunity or collaboration for students to continue to provide their perspectives and to help create solutions.
Our goal is simple: to make sure students have access to information they can trust and feel comfortable talking about. By working together, we can help create a healthier and more informed community for the youth of Redlands.
Thank you for allowing us to speak today, and we look forward to working with our community to make a difference.
Thank you. We're going to get a photo with you.
Oh, yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Great job.
Next public comment will be Jeff Frisch.
Thanks. I'll try not to be too redundant from closed session. Jeff Frisch, Redlands Police Officers Association, representing our officers, detectives, and sergeants. First, again, we want to point out we recognize the efforts of staff and the council regarding a lot of the facility and equipment challenges over the last 2 decades, really, when you look at some of the issues that this council has taken up. The last piece of the puzzle here is that our officers are one of the lowest paid in the Inland Empire. The average 10-year officer is ranking 12 out of 12 with comparative agencies in the Inland Empire. Our current objective is to try to get our officers up to an average compensation within our competition in the area. I had presented here last year regarding vacancy rates. We presented our multiple enforcement team with a sergeant, corporal, 4 officers was completely unfilled. That stands to this day as well. That team is responsible for our fugitive apprehension, surveillance, warrant service, gang suppression, and crime trend response. Our so-called downtown team, that was a sergeant and 4 officers approved by this council 2 years ago, still completely unstaffed. Our community policing is down a spot since the off-work and untimely death of Officer Franklin, who we all know and love and remember. That spot's never been filled. A special victims unit investigator who investigates sexual assault, vacant a year ago when I made that presentation, still vacant to this very day. Year after year, there's continual presentations about the staffing issues within the police department and within the RPOA. In the last council meeting when HR made their presentation, I kind of found it odd that under recruitment and retention strategies, competitive salaries was not listed. And that's not a knock on HR. They just have to work with what they're provided. And it's apparent that they're not confident that that is a selling point in their strategies. I'd like to remind everyone that during the recession, the RPOA voluntarily gave back 10% of their pay and benefits to help the city entering the recession period. During COVID, we voluntarily gave back 5% of our compensation to help the city. We also walked, phone banked, and spoke with citizens about Measure T, which was ultimately approved in November of 2020. I'd like you to look at some of the Measure T expenditures and really look at the priority of these. There are some expenditures that we feel are low priority, including several $1 million in signal repairs and maintenance and a restroom at Ford Park that could be directed to support your public safety. So we're simply asking, try to get our officers up to a competitive wage so we can fill these spots, fill these vacancies, and provide a better service to our community. Thank you.
Next speaker is Sylvia Lemus.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city manager. My name is Sylvia Lemus, and I am a community service officer for the police department and a member of the Redlands Civilian Safety Employees Association, which represents approximately 50 employees who provide critical public safety support services to our community. Our association has faced significant challenges for many years. In 2010, the city laid off 63 RCSCA members, and in 2020, additional positions were eliminated. It has taken nearly 16 years to recruit and fill many of those vacancies. And throughout that time, nearly every classification within our association has remained understaffed. The impact of this understaffing has been significant. For example, the Police Department Records Division has operated without a records supervisor for over 2.5 years. Due to staffing shortages, public access to records was reduced for several years, and at one point, the department had to close entirely to allow for employee training. It has only recently reopened to the public with limited days and hours. In 2025, the city commissioned a class and compensation study for our association. The results showed that 55% of our positions are below market. Across our 20 classification, salaries range from 0.3% to 19.9% below market. When the city presented the study in January 2026, it showed that on average, our salaries are 11% below market and our total compensation is 4.8% below market. As negotiations began, our association requested a fair equity adjustment based on the findings of the city's own study. We later removed that request and adjusted our salary proposal to absorb the equity concerns. Yet those proposals were also rejected. The city's LBFO still falls short of what we believe is a fair and reasonable adjustment to address these long-standing disparities. In addition, several compensation proposals intended to support recruitment and retention were also rejected during negotiations. We will also like to remind the council that in 2020, RCSCA stood alongside RPOA and RFD in supporting and campaigning for Measure T. Those efforts helped secure millions of dollars in ongoing public safety funding for the city each year. Tonight, we ask the council to recognize the value of the employees who have remained committed to serving Redlands through years of staffing shortages and increasing workloads. We're simply seeking a fair contract that helps retain experienced employees, attract qualified candidates, and ensure the long-term stability of the public safety services and community it depends on. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Next speaker, Armando Valles.
Good evening, Mayor Salcedo, Redlands City Council, and staff. For those that may not know me, my name is Armando Valles, and I have the privilege and honor of serving as your cemetery manager. This evening, I come before you as the current president of the Redlands Association of Mid-Management Employees, which represents 70 positions citywide. Our mid-management staff serves the community of Redlands with dedication and passion. Many due to staffing shortages have undertaken additional work to sustain service levels. Some have missed dinners with their families as they've worked a longer shift due to personnel shortages. Others have come in on their day off or have canceled vacation days due to project deadlines or late-breaking items that require their immediate attention. These are the type of employees that work for our city. From the start of our negotiations, we prepared a proposal that outlined the priorities of our unit, and after our first meeting with the city, it was evident that we were far apart. The message we received from the city was that the city's primary focus was on one specific item. The rest of our negotiations would ultimately revolve around the outcome of that one conversation. We were asked to bring back a revised proposal to determine if we would be able to continue discussions in hope of reaching an agreement soon. Our unit submitted a revised proposal to which the city countered with a proposal that was less favorable than we anticipated. We were reminded that the city wanted to work with all labor unions to increase its recruitment efforts. We felt it was important to meet with our members and provide them with an update of how our negotiations were going. When we provided our members the feedback and offer the city proposed, many expressed frustrations and a sense of discouragement. Some asked why the city was not willing to do more for its long-term employees, and the consensus of the members was that the offer was not enough. Many expressed concerns for the future high costs of medical coverage in the years to come, and we hear from staff and the reported findings of the citywide class and compensation study that 62% of all jobs were at or 5% above market total compensation. However, that number was true as of the date the data was collected in that period of time and does not cover future inflation. I want you to know that we're beginning to gain traction and we move forward, and we appreciate the labor negotiators at the table on behalf of the city. However, we're not there yet, and this is where we need your help. We've been informed that the counter proposal that we presented exceeds the current authority given to the negotiating team by council, and we respectfully ask that council consider the proposal submitted by our unit, and if needed and warranted, to raise the authority you've granted. We understand that to reach an agreement, compromises will need to be made. In a matter of items of economic costs, should they be considered, funding will need to be allocated. I'm sure that you were presented with an economic impact figure that was tied to our proposal. And although that figure may represent a substantial saving to the city, should you deny the request, I ask that you think of the benefit should you accept our proposal to invest in our employees. Think of the potential of investing in our employees and their choosing to stay because they feel seen and heard. Thank you for your time and your leadership. And to those that are present, happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Next public comment is Terry Stiles. So just as a reminder, there's 3 lights on there. The green is when you start, the yellow is when you have about 30 seconds left, and the red is when you're done, 3 minutes.
That's how fast I talk. My name is Terry Stiles. I'm the homeowner who lives adjacent to the 4.67 acre property recently sold in Mentone. From what I am learning, it is referred to as that Mentone property now. So I'm sure some of you have heard all of our complaints so far. In early March, they began grading the property to the surprise of many of us in the community. I read about it in the Redlands Community News that it was purchased by Sarton Properties, LLC, and was to be used for agricultural purposes. After doing a bit of research, I realized that the chatter coming from the equipment operators may be true. All of us were told different stories, but the worst case scenario being a parking lot for semi-trucks. The grading and dumping of dirt and asphalt went on for several weeks, but most always on the weekends. So when complaints were filed, the damage had already been done. Complaints were filed along with photos, videos sent to code enforcement from April 19th, I believe, to late May 23rd. A water truck was used for a total of 2 days, April 29th and 22nd. And on the 22nd, there was no grading, just the water truck. Thankfully, on May 29th, a stop order was in place and signs posted on the property. After a lot of calls and persistence, I am grateful to everyone who was involved. Aside from nuisance noise and dust, there are real environmental concerns that we have, and it would seem that any future physical development or change of use would normally trigger approvals from SECA due to the sensitive nature of the surroundings, wildlife corridors within feet of the property. I'm trying to understand how this property falls through the cracks and is exempt from SECA. Analysis the SECA analysis, according to Redlands Resolution 8736, how will this rural area with residential homes, mountain views, and scenic highway not be negatively impacted? And my main question is, how can this area be exempt from any environmental protections? So I think it's good to show the support of the community, so I brought the petitions that I can turn in. We did it a while ago, but since a stop order, we didn't feel it was necessary. So anyway, thank you all very much.
You can hand that petition over to our city clerk, please.
Okay.
Next public comment is Patty Niemeyer.
Good evening. My name is Patty Niemeyer, and I'm here to comment about the land that was sold off of Highway 38 near our home of 42 years. I watched the March 3rd City Council meeting when the sale of the property was voted through. I honestly don't understand why it wasn't postponed at that time. Assistant City Manager at the time, Chris Boatman, presented the proposed sale for $250,000, claiming it was consistent with the appraisal. The problem is, I found through public records that there were two appraisals by the same Gary Young, just 45 days apart. The first appraisal, dated on March 21st, was for $610,000. The second appraisal on May 5th, just $300,000. And there are several mistakes in those documents that I would encourage you all to take a look at, but that might explain why Gary Young at the time was on probation and has since had his license revoked. It seems odd to me that Mr. Young, who is not local, was requested to do an appraisal on the property several weeks before Mr. Sarton's letter of intent to purchase was ever sent. Back to the meeting, after Mr. Boatman presents the sale proposal, local realtor Trevor Casey comments about the concern of a section allowing for mixed land use. And he recommended it not be passed with that in there, and he also said that the land was way underpriced. Mr. Boatman responds, he confirmed that he had actually spoke with Mr. Casey before the meeting and told him that it was added in error. So my question is, why didn't Mr. Boatman bring up the error when he first presented the sale proposal to the council for vote? The conversation he had with Mr. Casey was just right before the meeting had started, so it should have been pretty fresh on his mind. If Mr. Casey had not made his public comment and exposed the error, would Mr. Boatman have just allowed the sale to be voted on as it was written? Wasn't it his responsibility to make sure the proposal was accurate and true before presenting it to vote? It seems that Mr. Boatman's friend, the buyer, Mr. Sarton, is actually attempting to use this property for mixed land use. And I know I've talked to many of you about this. A worker at the property has told multiple neighbors that the plan is to park semi-trucks there, which, interestingly enough, Mr. Sarton does advertise semis for sale. And the violation of dumping and spreading very large amounts of asphalt chippings would also seem to support this. And I just at this time want to say thank you to Tabitha Crocker and the city attorneys for placing that stop order. I'm very grateful for that. I'm here to ask the City of Redlands to be vigilant in monitoring how this zoned open space land will be used. In the San Bernardino County Code, there is a development criteria within scenic areas as stated in both of the appraisals. Our community wants to see this property handled as it should be and the beautiful view of the San Bernardino Mountains not destroyed. So much more I could say, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Robin Lafelt.
Greetings. Thank you for having me here again. I didn't come here to ask you for anything today. I just came to share. You've seen me be passionate, but I'm going to be very vulnerable because I want to tell you the story of how my family came to Redlands. I grew up in poverty in Bloomington in the 60s and 70s. Poverty in Bloomington is different than poverty in Redlands. When I went away to college, because I'm the outlier in my family, I tell people my family put the trash in white trash. We were rough. When I went away to college, something happened with some stolen federal dynamite in the ATF, ended up at our house. And my mom moved my family over here to Redlands and said, Hail Mary, move to save my family. And it worked. It worked because the community that Redlands is gave us the stability that we needed. I'm glad to say my brother managed to stay out of prison. They were minors, so they were happy just to get their dynamite back in. But my commitment to Redlands is true. When I was little, I thought Redlands was magical, and I think it is. And because of Redlands, my family has broken generational curses of drug addiction, alcoholism, poverty. 3 of my 4 siblings are homeowners. And I'm just so grateful that I could come here and be heard. I'm so grateful for the help that I've received down at the city. And every time I come in here with all the tension, and you guys, I pray that you get the wisdom of Solomon, because these things, I just wanted you to know Redlands is a city that works. It worked for my family. You wouldn't know that. Anyway, that's all that I have today. I just thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Very appreciate that. Next public speaker is Nicholas Gunn.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable City Council. My name is Nicholas Gunn, and I'm actually a visitor. I'm visiting from Benton Harbor, Michigan. So I traveled all the way here from Michigan, from the other side of the state, and I'm actually an intern for IEHP. And it's a pleasure to be able to be here for the summer. And I was just being able to live here for 2 weeks now here in Redlands, and I've been able to look at some of the great things that you guys are doing. I've been able to, follow you guys on social media, and I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I'm actually the communications coordinator in my city for the city of Benton Harbor, Michigan, and I'm also the communications director for the Southwest Michigan Regional Airport, and I do a lot of communications work. So I always tell visitors in my area that, hey, come over to City Council if you want to look for new opportunities and learn more about their community. So I'm here. If you guys have any volunteer opportunities when I leave from IEHP or when I'm working remote, I would love to see what I can do to help out or just learn more about the city of Redlands. It's a beautiful community. You guys have an amazing downtown area. So I've been able to explore. So I'm looking forward to learning more and seeing if you guys have any opportunities for me this summer. I would love to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. And I noticed you did check the box that requesting somebody to follow up with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
somebody will follow up with you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yep. Blessings.
Mr. Moderator, do we have any public comment on Zoom?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we do have one public comment on Zoom. Quinn Shea, it is your turn to speak.
Hello, sir. I sincerely apologize. I did not realize that I was about to be called up. Please hold. I sincerely apologize. Hello, City Council. My name is Quinn Shea. I'm a Redlands resident asking the City Council to consider amending our current municipal ordinance to legalize California State Marshal approved safe and sane fireworks. I deeply respect our city's strict fire prevention rules, especially given our local topography and wildfire risks. However, Redlands' current outright ban inadvertently creates a hidden market for dangerous, illegal fireworks. Permitting safe and sane fireworks would allow the city to establish a controlled, taxable environment to combat this issue. Furthermore, legal fireworks stands would provide a powerful economic boost to our community for participating organizations. A single stand can become the biggest fundraiser of their year, grossing an estimated $20,000 to $40,000 per fireworks season. These crucial funds would directly support local faith-based programs, food pantries, local businesses, and nonprofits, as well as essential programs and sports teams at our local schools, including Redlands High School, Redlands East Valley, Citrus Valley, Cope Middle School, Moore Middle School, and more. To protect our residents and maintain community safety, I propose pairing legalization with strict boundaries and specific operating hours as outlined on a page that I will be sending to City Council within the next week. I am an incoming high school student and a pyrotechnics enjoyer, and I believe that safe and sane fireworks would be one of the best opportunities for Redlands schools and Redlands nonprofit organizations to create funding that they are unable to get throughout the middle of the year.
Thank you for your comment. I don't have any other speaker slips for public comment. That concludes our public comment portion. Now move on to public hearings. J1. This is a public hearing to consider. I'm sorry. Thank you. I got ahead of myself. What's the wish of the council on the consent calendar?
Are there any items being pulled?
No.
Move approval of the calendar.
I need to pull item I8.
Is it on the consent calendar?
Yeah, to change the date in the agreement.
I8 or K?
I8.
Actually, I was hoping you'd talk about that one anyway.
Oh, okay. Isn't that correct? Yeah.
Okay, with the amended, I'll amend my motion to say with the removal of I8, I'd like to move approval of the balance of the calendar.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo. I was going to say Mayor Pro Tem Shaw, but he's not there. Mayor
Yes.
Saucedo.
Yes. Okay. I8 was being pulled on the consent calendar. This is approval and agreement for services with Ecology Center in the amount of $1,808 for the purpose of distributing market match nutrition incentives to qualifying members of the public through the Redlands Morning Market. Approval of an additional appropriation of $2,432.50, representing the total grant funding from Ecology Center, and approve an in-kind services grant match of $9,102.17 for the administration of the program, Facilities and Community Services Director Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a quick overview. This item refers to the grant funds for the Ecology Center to run the SNAP program at the Redlands Morning Market. The program is also known as CalFresh and is the nation's largest food assistance program. The city has participated in this program since 2017, and this item was pulled to correct a date in the agreement. The agreement should be June 16th, 2026 to December 31st, 2026. It currently reads June 2nd. So I'm just changing the June 2nd to the June 16th date.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the item? No? Entertain a motion?
No speakers on this item, right?
No speaker slips. I don't see anybody on Zoom either.
Move the city council determine that approval of the agreement with Ecology is exempt from environmental review in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15301, Class 1, and I move the city council approve the agreement for services with Ecology Center to participate in their market match program in the amount of $1,808 for distribution of market match nutrition incentives to qualifying members of the public through the Redlands Morning Market, and I moved to approve an additional appropriation of $2,432.50 and approve grant match of $9,102.17 for in-kind services.
Second. Motion and a second. Madam City
Oh,
Clerk.
as amended, excuse me, the agreement as
The
amended.
dates, okay, thank you. Second, agree to the,
Second, yes.
Councilmember Barrich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
And Mayor Saucedo.
yes. Okay, now we're moving on to item J1, which is a public hearing to consider ordinance text amendment number 372 to amend Title 18 zoning regulations of the Redlands Municipal Code to prohibit new warehouses and logistic distribution facilities as defined and allow the existing warehouse to remain as permitted and conditionally permitted uses, consideration of a proposed amendment to Chapter 18.156, Article 7 of the Warehouse and Logistics Distribution Centers to add a new Section 18.156.970, establishing and rebuilding provisions for existing warehouses and logistic distribution centers, and consideration of a resolution to amend the commercial and industrial specific plans of the City of Redlands to prohibit new warehouses and logistic distribution facilities as defined and allowing existing warehouses to remain as permitted and conditionally permitted uses. The proposal qualifies as an exempt from the environmental review in accordance with Section 15061B3, 15308, and 15378B5 of the California Environmental Quality Act. This is a public hearing. Director Riley.
I would,
What we'll do is we'll have the director give a report, and we'll get down to any public comments, and then we can move on to your inquiry. Yes, we do have to.
okay, all right, just wanted,
Yes, my recommendation is that you go through
that,
public
then-
comment, and then before you close the hearing, you can discuss any further actions you'd like to take.
thank you.
Okay. Director Riley.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Brian Foote, City Planner, will be presenting this item.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This item, J1, is a proposed amendment to the text of the zoning ordinance. And this item originated in a discussion amongst the planning commissioners in 2025. And the discussion revolved around updating the original warehouse ordinance, ordinance number 2955, that was adopted in 2023. In October of last year, the Planning Commission made a recommendation to the council to consider updating the original 2023 ordinance. Of November of last year, the council had some discussion on the matter and provided direction to staff to go ahead and proceed to prepare a draft ordinance. That draft ordinance was assembled and presented to the Planning Commission on April 14th of this year. After some discussion and requests for revisions, we went back to the Commission on May 12th. And at that time, the Commission made a recommendation to the Council to adopt what you have before you this evening, ordinance number 3002. And that's what we are going to cover here briefly. So going back to the November council meeting, the council members provided some objectives or legislative goals that included to prohibit any new warehouses and logistics distribution centers as defined in the ordinance in all zoning districts, yet also allow for existing legally permitted warehouses to remain as legal conforming uses. Also, there was guidelines to allow those existing permitted warehouses to be rebuilt after a fire or other natural disaster, but only to the same square footage and to the same building height as was previously existing. And lastly, to prohibit the assemblage of parcels for the purpose of building or expanding a new warehouse. So the zoning districts that we're discussing this evening are shown on the map. As you can see, they're primarily clustered in the westerly part of the city. It includes commercial industrial, CM zone, light manufacturing, M1 zone, general industrial, M2 zone, and the industrial or IP zone. Also a number of specific plans that are non-residential. For example, the East Valley Corridor Specific Plan. It's indicated on the map as EV/IC, that means commercial industrial,
and also EV/IR, that's regional industrial. And there's a few other smaller specific plans that do allow for warehouse type development. Essentially, the code amendment would delete the listing of warehouses and logistics distribution centers as defined in the code. Those would be deleted from the list of conditional uses in the zones that we just mentioned. Now, warehouses and logistics distribution centers are defined in our code as having more than 50,000 square feet in floor area and or having more than 5 truck docks. So in other words, it's not intended to capture the manufacturing type facilities that may store and distribute the products they make. That's a different type of land use than logistics distribution. The code also allows ancillary warehousing, which is again part of like a manufacturing or a service commercial type of use where it's clearly not logistics distribution. The proposed new text that would be listed as a permitted use in the commercial, industrial, light industrial, and the industrial zones is here on the screen. So warehouses or logistics distribution centers existing as of the effective date of this ordinance, number 3002, with 50,000 square feet in gross floor area or more, or having more than 5 truck docks or dock high loading doors, and were legally established with permits prior to the effective date of ordinance 3002. Those would be just considered permitted uses, and they would be subject to the new rebuild provisions that we're going to describe here in just a minute. Also, there's one zone industrial where this needs to be inserted into the conditional uses. So the language is the same with the addition in parentheses, or the property has a valid land use entitlement approved prior to the effective date of this ordinance 3002. And the purpose of that is to treat an entitled project that may not yet be built, but they have a valid land use entitlement in hand. They're going to be treated the same as if it were existing and built today. There's a number of specific plans, non-residential specific plans, where similar provisions would be inserted. The precise language is provided in the resolution attached to the staff report. There's several listed here. The largest area is the East Valley Corridor specific plan on the westerly portion of the city. Now, to address the provision prohibiting assemblage of parcels, this section would be added to the code section cited there on the screen. No warehouse development project or redevelopment or reconstruction of a property for warehouse use. They may not assemble or merge additional properties for the purpose of developing, enlarging, expanding, or intensifying the use of an existing or new warehouse logistics facility. So with permitted uses, the normal, typical language that we have for non-conforming uses and structures, that would not apply if it's considered a permitted use or a conditionally permitted use. So some language has been crafted that is similar to some non-conforming provisions, but a little bit more flexible. So the existing warehouses may be rebuilt if there would be fire or other natural disaster. They can be rebuilt to the previously existing square footage and height, up to 100%. It allows for ordinary repair and maintenance, technology upgrades, and then change of ownership or tenancy or occupancy would not affect the rebuild rights. So those are actually quite a bit more flexible than the typical non-conforming provisions that we see in another chapter of the zoning code. The Planning Commission did add a few provisions. They had asked for a definition of alteration, and so this definition is pulled from the California Building Code. It's verbatim. The only change is the Commission wanted to clarify that it pertains to interior changes only, not the exterior property or parking lot. This would only pertain to the interior of the building. So one word was added, the interior, resurfacing of interior circulation paths or vehicular ways. I won't read the entire thing to you unless you want me to. Okay. Definition for repair. The Commission wanted a definition for repair. Again, this is verbatim from the California Building Code so that we're consistent. simply reconstruction, replacement, or renewal of any part of an existing building for the purpose of its maintenance or to correct damage. The commission also wanted a clear statement of applicability regarding an existing unexpired land use entitlement, again, for a project that is not yet built, but they have a valid land use entitlement for their property. So such a property would enjoy the same rights and protections as any other existing facility that has already been constructed. That is essentially what it states in the several different sections, but the commission wanted another clearer section to reiterate that, so that's been added. The commission also recommended allowing for an increase to existing building height up to 15%. There was quite a bit of discussion about that. The commission ultimately did recommend to the council to have a provision to allow for up to a 15% increase to the existing building height, subject to a number of criteria, and those are listed here. So, for example, the property meets the applicable criteria of the section cited there, which essentially states that the use in the building was legally established with permits, and it's a legal conforming use and structure. Secondly, that they apply for a conditional use permit concurrently with a request for increase in height. Also, that the feasible provisions of the warehouse ordinance, that those would be added as conditions of approval or incorporated into the construction or reconstruction with any increase in height of 15%. So, for example, sustainability features, energy efficiency features, landscape buffering and screening from any adjacent sensitive receptors, and then operating requirements. Essentially, I wrote this as a regulatory incentive. If somebody wanted an additional 15% of height, then the exchange is they would have to do energy upgrades and implement the feasible provisions of our existing warehouse ordinance. And they would do that through the mechanism of a conditional use permit. Also, that environmental review process, if applicable, would be completed. So if increasing building height or increasing the number of truck docks or changing non-refrigerated space to refrigerated space, if those would create or intensify any environmental effects, then those would be evaluated according to the California Environmental Quality Act. And then provisions for additional special studies if required, if necessary, circulation studies, a traffic study, for example, a detailed landscape plan, or even an economic feasibility report or market analysis to justify the need for an increase of height of up to 15%. So the adoption of this ordinance qualifies for exemption from environmental review under the 3 sections cited there. There's no possibility of any significant environmental effects from the adoption of the ordinance or the additional regulations. The Planning Commission's recommendation was for the council to approve the ordinance as it is attached to the staff report and the related specific plan amendments. Now, the council does have some alternatives if council does not wish to allow for an increase in existing building height or additional truck docks, then you may modify the ordinance as proposed. I structured it in such a way that the paragraph C, everything pertaining to increased building height, that can be excised out of the ordinance and you can adopt the remainder of the ordinance as is. Or council can modify the ordinance language to include or exclude other provisions. Or 3, provide additional direction to staff, and we'll bring back a revised ordinance and resolution at a later date, or 4, additional information. With that, that'll conclude my presentation. The motion is on the screen, and staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for staff before we move on to our public comment? Okay. After public comment. Okay. First public comment on this item is Nicole Torsovet. Probably butchered that, but.
I butcher it some days too.
Good evening, Nicole Torstvedt. I'm here on behalf of Prologis, a large stakeholder in the city of Redlands. We own over 3 million square feet in the city, so this ordinance is quite important to us, especially to be able to protect our assets since we own and operate long-term Class A logistics facilities. So I would respectfully request that we continue this conversation to a later date so that all council members are present and can have input. I'm also concerned about the 15% cap. That does not provide for meaningful modernization on an existing facility. If you have a building that's 28 feet in height, 15% gives you approximately 4 feet, which will allow you to go up to 33 feet in building height. That's currently obsolete as we speak today. So I think a lot of the buildings within the city of Redlands are somewhere between 28 and 35 feet. So concerns there. And then rather than maybe the 15% cap, I would encourage the city to use the existing zoning code that you guys already have available to you to allow for those heights within the permitted zones. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Bill Blankenship.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to come here. My name is Bill Blankenship, resident of Redlands, and I'm here representing NAOP, which is the association that represents the logistics industry. I also believe it's important that all 5 council members are here to deliberate such an important item. Throughout the process, and it's been quite a process from a good neighbor policy adoption to discussion of moratoriums to discussion of changing of codes and the like. All 5 council members have participated, and I think that before we finish this issue and we actually decide about conforming and non-conforming uses of warehouses, that all 5 council members are present. In addition to that, I think it's important that the city of Redlands continues to be mindful of its neighbors in the donut hole and mindful of the projects and properties that exist in the unincorporated area. There's approximately the same amount of square footage in the city of Redlands from a logistics standpoint that there is in the unincorporated area surrounding Redlands. And one day, if Redlands ever becomes non-competitive and becomes too restrictive, and it doesn't allow these projects to modernize or modernize in a way that matches the market of today, those businesses that operate in those warehouses in Redlands will go to other municipalities or go just next door to the county. And I think that's imperative that the city doesn't allow that to happen. The city has done a fantastic job to plan for logistics in its future and as it is operating today. And as we all know, this land use is within 1 mile radius of the 210 freeway, 1 mile radius of the 10 freeway, and it was planned that way. Other communities can't say that, but Redlands can, and I think that's what sets you apart from other communities. And the key is to make this industry work for the community, and the key is to create and to continue that partnership. And if you allow it to leave your city, you'll end up with empty buildings, and nobody wants that. The industry certainly doesn't want that, and as a Redlands resident, I don't want that, and I believe you don't want that either. So again, I respectfully request that we table this until we can come back. I do believe building height is a critical factor in this discussion. Like the other speaker said, if we were just at 28 feet, the modernization that happened on Tennessee Street certainly never would have happened with that project and others. Certainly grandfather in those projects that have approval and have not been built yet. And with that, thank you for the opportunity. Look forward to the continued conversation. And I'm available to work with staff or whatever you feel is appropriate from an industry standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do see that you checked the box for somebody to follow up with you on staff. So
Yes,
thank you.
please.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Next speaker, John Malcolm.
Hello, City Council. I'm speaking in favor of this warehouse proposal, or warehouse ban, probably the term. I remember of the City Council meetings that I have attended, the ones that went by far the longest were the ones that were warehouse bans. We had so many people show up against these warehouses, against any increase in warehouses. They went so long in terms of timing. And during those meetings, when the public came out in to speak about warehouses, it was overwhelmingly against, and overwhelmingly against even current projects. This keeps current projects, allows for building height increase, apparently also allows for truck dock increases, and yeah, and that is honestly way more than what people who showed up here time and time again, turns out not today, but they used to show up. It's way more than what they wanted. So I ask that you go forward with this warehouse ban, even with the increased height proposal. And I am kind of curious, may I ask why Mayor Pro Tempore Shaw is absent today? It was not mentioned in the meeting that I heard. And I guess that's all, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Moderator, do we have any public speaker slips on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one speaker. Quinn Shea, it is your turn to speak.
Thank you, sir. Hello, City Council. I am speaking yet again today in support of warehouse bans, as certain warehouses are able to cause more gases and more CO2 emission into the air, as well as causing more stress in our ecosystem from allowing these I sincerely apologize. I do not know why my mind blanked. From allowing these I sincerely apologize. From allowing these toxic fumes from warehouses, from the burning, from the creations, it can be really bad for not just for our environment, but for our small town of Redlands. As certain people have said today, the height thing may seem like a bad thing, but with Redlands, we are meant to be a small town. We aren't meant to really grow. I mean, we are, but I sincerely apologize again, but I am completely in support of these bans as warehouses make our town, sure, it makes it seem modern, but it gives it less of that small town chic that we have had in past years. And it feels quite sad because our area is losing more and more due to these warehouses and what they cause. I do agree that it may be good to place this voting to the next meeting, as there are only 4 out of the 5 people who are supposed to be voting. Once again, I sincerely apologize for the mishaps with my microphone and my ADHD brain. Thank you for allowing me to come on tonight, and I sincerely apologize.
All right, thank you. Okay, what's the wish of the council?
I personally don't have a problem postponing it until the next meeting so we can have the full council. This is a very important ordinance.
Yeah, I would also just defer to our city manager. Should we defer it to an agenda that can handle, not a full agenda or something? So I'd kind of leave it to you to decide when we can put this back on.
We do have a very full schedule for the next two meetings in July. We have taken August off. I did consult with the Development Service Director in case there's a postponement, and we believe that the first meeting in September, there'd be no consequences. There's no projects that are going to come in before that, so we think that would be the best meeting that I would suggest, just due to the always trying to balance the meetings as much as possible.
Okay, you want to make that motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this.
Do we need a motion?
Do I need a motion?
Yes, let me get the date on that first September meeting.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
The date.
I know.
And Mayor,
That-
can I just add, I did receive 2 written comments
Okay.
that were distributed electronically to everybody. I wanted to
Okay.
make mention of that. One was in support of continuing the item, and the other was supporting the full ban now.
And then after the motion, the public hearing will remain open until the date of the hearing.
So it would be a motion to keep the hearing open and to continue this item to the regular meeting of September 1st.
I move that we continue this, keep the public hearing open for this particular item, and we postponed any action till September, the council meeting for September 1st. I'm getting as bad as the gentleman just called in.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to item J2, adopt, this is a public hearing, adopt resolution number 8772, 8773, pertaining to the levy of fiscal year 26-27, assessments for street lighting districts number 1 and landscape maintenance district number 1, facilities and community services Director Crocker. This is a open public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This item is the annual street lighting and landscape maintenance assessments. The intent of tonight's public hearing is to receive any testimony from the public on those proposed assessments for fiscal year 26-27, and adoption of the resolutions will approve the engineer's report and authorize the assessments for both of those districts.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the City Council to staff? I don't have any speaker slips. I don't see anybody on Zoom for public testimony or public comment. Madam City Clerk, did we receive any written comments on this item?
No written comments received.
Okay, I'll now close the public hearing. What's the wish of the council?
I move that we adopt resolution number 8772 and 8773.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. Moving on to K, new business. We are pulling item number K5, correct? Okay, so we're not hearing that one tonight. Everybody got that? Okay. First item on K1 is consideration of memorandum of understanding between the City of Redlands and Redlands Association of Management Employees, Assistant City Manager McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. As the Council is aware, the city's negotiations team has been at the table with the city's 9 bargaining units, and I'm pleased to announce that we have reached agreement with the Redlands Association of Management Employees for their successor MOU, which is effective July 1st through June 30th, 2029. This is a 3-year contract. All members will receive a 4% salary increase for the first year of the contract, and a 3% salary increases in year 2 and 3. Other changes include the addition of three additional steps, step 5, 6, and 7, at 2.5% each to the top of the range salary range. There also includes modest increases to bilingual pay, vision care reimbursement, and medical contributions. We've also included some language cleanup for clarification purposes. Funding for this MOU is already included in the proposed budget that is before you this evening.
One thing I would like to say is I would like to thank RAIM and its members for being the first bargaining unit to come to an agreement with the city. It's really appreciated. I would like to acknowledge Brian Foote, who's sitting in the audience, the president of RAIM, as well as Don Young for having such open dialogue with us at the table. It's really appreciated. So thank you, Brian, and Don, who's probably watching in his office right now. Also, just briefly, I would like to thank and acknowledge our negotiations team. It takes a lot of work and effort from finance as well as HR to put together behind the scenes what happens. So I really want to openly acknowledge their support and hard work through this process. Lastly, have a shout out to Jay Trinnaman, who was the lead negotiator for our discussions with RAIM. So with that, concludes my staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for the Assistant City Manager? If not, entertain a motion.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Redlands and the Redlands Association of Management Employees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Sacido.
Yes. Item K2, consideration of Fire Department's continued membership in the CONFIRE Joint Powers Authority for fiscal year 26-27 and authorization to pay the associated annual service fee in the amount not to exceed $890,632. Fire Chief Sessler.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight's request is to approve the Redlands Fire Department's continued participation in the CONFIRE Joint Powers Authority. The authorization and payment of this fiscal year 26-27 annual service fee in the amount not to exceed $890,632. The City of Redlands has been a member of CONFIRE since 1990. Though this regional partnership, CONFIRE provides fire and emergency medical dispatch services, support public safety communicational infrastructure, delivers critical MIS, GIS, and IT support services that enhance emergency response operations and system reliability. Continued participation ensures reliable emergency communications, regional interoperability, technology support, and the efficient service delivery for our community. Staff recommends approval of the continued participation in CONFIRE and authorize the associated annual service fee fiscal for 26-27. This is also priority B, public health and safety of our long-term plan. This concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Any questions for the chief? I don't have any speaker slips. I don't see any public comment on Zoom.
Would you like a motion?
Sure.
Okay, I move to approve continuation participation of the Fire Department in CONFIRE Joint Power Authority and authorize the payment of association of annual fees in an amount not to exceed $890,632.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
And Mayor Sacido.
Yes. Item K3. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, you have an announcement?
I do. I will need to recuse myself from item K3 as my residence is located within 500 feet of the parcel where the proposed fire station will be located.
Okay, item K3, consideration of resolution number 8796, authorizing certificates of participation and approving a ground lease, a lease agreement, and a trust agreement, a purchase agreement, and a continuing disclosure certificate and an official statement with respect to such certificates and authorizing related actions in the amount not to exceed $85 million for the Safety Hall, fire station construction, and library HVAC improvements projects. Interim Assistant City Manager Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. In plain terms, this is the financing tool that will allow us to move forward with major long-term facility needs, such as the Safety Hall building that you mentioned. The action does not create a new tax, and repayment would come from legally available funds that we have already planned in our long-term financial plan. So this presentation will cover the items being requested by council or from council, and as well as the Public Improvement Corporation that will be heard once the City Council is adjourned. So this is one presentation to cover both. Staff is asking for financing in order to fund Safety Hall, the fire station, and Smiley Library HVAC, which is related to the cooling tower to provide the heating and ventilation for the facility. These actions are intended to provide long-range investment in long-lived assets. Okay, so just a little bit about what certificates of participation are. We're used to referring to these items as bonds, but in this sense, it's actually called a certificate of participation. It functions much in the same way. The city is borrowing funds that they are legally obligated to repay, but those repayments are subject to an annual appropriation by the council. So once the Safety Hall building is built, and that will become the building upon which lease payments are made on the debt, and the debt will therefore be repaid. Most important facts here are that the voter approval is not required for COPs, but it is required for a general obligation bond, and as such, a general obligation bond can only serve to increase taxes. This is a way to fund the Safety Hall, fire station, and library HVAC without raising taxes. The lease payments are already included in our annual budget that's proposed this evening as well, and included in the city's long-range financial plans. So how much we're really borrowing. So the item, the subject title authorizes up to $85 million, but we really estimate the need to be closer to $74.5 million. The reason that there is a $10.5 million pricing buffer is to account for market moves on the day that the city actually prices its certificates of participation. We don't intend there to be a $10.5 million swing in either direction. It would be great if it was less that we needed to borrow, but we do not intend for, nor do we anticipate for there to be a $10.5 million increase. It's simply there to give investors confidence that whatever the market bears on our situation, we'll be able to construct the project and bring it to fruition. It also includes a buffer for the cost of issuance and any interest that we need to capitalize as well. So therefore, that's the buffer. But we do not intend to borrow more than $74.5 million. So the financing of $74.5 million will be directed towards 3 different projects, and we have them here on the screen. Safety Hall at $58 million, the fire station at $15 million, and the HVAC improvements for the library at $1.5 million. Going back up to the top there, Safety Hall is anticipated to cost more than $58 million, but on the next slide, we'll show a breakdown of where the funds are coming from for that building and its total cost. So here's Safety Hall. The debt financing, what this action would accomplish, will provide $58 million towards that building. We also intend to contribute $500,000 from our development impact fees for public safety facilities. There is $10 million in a future facilities reserve in the general fund, as well as another $10 million in budgeted cash in the general fund, as presented in the city manager's proposed biennial budget for fiscal years 2027 and 2028. So the total cost of Safety Hall as a project is $78.5 million. So with the action before you tonight, our recommendation is to adopt Resolution 8796, as well as the public improvement resolution when that item is heard, but we'll present that separately, and it will authorize certificates of participation in the aggregate amount of $85 million. Again, we do not intend to borrow more than $74.5. And the key takeaways are there is no new tax. The repayment of these funds is from legally available monies already in the general fund. Takeaway 2, that this is an investment in long-lived assets. They're generational assets, and it is appropriate to repay them through debt financing. And takeaway 3, schedule and budget. We intend to fund these projects with plans already included in our 6-year financial forecast. And if there are any questions, staff is available to provide more information. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
Yes, Just for the record and for the public's awareness, as we pay down that debt, what do we have budgeted to pay that debt down? What amount?
The annual repayment is $5 million roughly.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that the community heard that.
Something I also want to mention for the council and the public is our team met with Standard & Poor's last week, and they reaffirmed a rating on previous debt of AA+. For a COP, the most that they can go up is one notch below that. So they rated us as AA, which is the highest we could get. A minus would be considered investment grade, then A, then A+, AA minus, AA, then AA+, up to AAA. So we're actually 5 stages above what would be considered investment grade. We're an excellent credit. We believe that will get us really good interest rates when we go to the market.
And I apologize for having an additional question. I'm not sure if, I think city manager might respond to this, perhaps this management team. Why were certificates of participation or going through the bonds this route versus actually floating a bond and having the citizens, put the bill on that? Why was that better?
Well, the primary reason to go this route over issuing bonds is bonds would require a vote of the citizens. However, their vote isn't whether they can issue bonds or not, it's whether they're willing to raise their property taxes to pay the bonds back. And we already have Measure T in place. Part of the plan, as long as I've been here and when Measure T was voted on, was to pursue these projects. And so we've been actually building into our budgets, preparing for this debt service. And so we did not, at this time, take it to the citizens because they had already raised their taxes for these purposes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, when are we going to be taking this debt out? When do we anticipate?
Is it next week?
Oh, that quick.
Next
Okay.
2 weeks.
Yeah, next 2 weeks.
Okay, good. I was going to say, sooner the better. Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Dennis Bell, you have a public comment? Come on up. You're welcome.
Good evening. Once again, the city dumped another huge and complex legal and financial document in the public's lap on short notice. On top of that, the average person doesn't have the relevant knowledge to understand it. I know I don't. The city's failed leadership has painted the city and its residents into a financial corner due to its misdirected priorities and wasteful spending for at least the last 30 years or more. The city spent the public's money on wants like historical museums, citrus groves, master plans, and fee waivers, while it claimed it couldn't fund needs like police and fire, streets, sewage treatment plant, and landfill. Cities incapable of handling the public's money. And this Redlands Public Improvement Corporation just looks like the old redevelopment agency by another name. This debt doesn't have to go before voters, but those sitting on the dais do. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any speakers on Zoom. Any other questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 8796, authorizing the execution and delivery of certificates of participation, evidencing principal in an aggregate amount not to exceed $85 million, approving a ground lease, lease agreement, trust agreement, purchase agreement, continuing disclosure certificate, and official statement with respect to such certificates, and authorizing related actions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask Councilmember Davis to join us. Item K4 is consideration of an adoption of the Parks Master Plan, Resolution number 8726, and determination that the adoption of the plan is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15061B3 of CEQA Guidelines, Facilities and Community Services Department Director Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm excited to announce this item tonight. The community and city staff have been working with our HA landscape architects and planners to create and develop the city's first Parks Master Plan. This plan is a roadmap for decision-making, capital investments for park and recreational activities. And for tonight's presentation, I'd like to introduce our consultant, Doug Grove.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Glad to be here. Pick this up a bit. Make sure I get this right. Perfect. All right. Well, about a year and a half, 2 years later, we're here with a final plan. It's actually been done for a little while, but getting in front of you is hard. You guys are so busy. So we're excited to be here to present this plan. I'm going to go through some presentation. You obviously have the full report in your packet. I'll cover some key items here. If you have any questions at the end, I'll be glad to answer them. So. Started this process by looking at your community profile, which is important, looking at where you are today in 2023 when we started, where you're going to be going, so you can see that based on your own Esri here in town, that's where we get these stats from, looking at, in 2038, looking at around 78,000 people. Obviously that can change, but that's kind of what they're saying we're going to be having. So that's important as I go through this, and you'll see why as we plan for what we're going to be doing in all the parks. I also looked at all of your demographics, your race and ethnicity, seeing things stay relatively the same since 2023. But as you can see, as we move forward, we're going to be changing a little bit on some of those numbers. The next one here is age projection and age segments. Again, very consistent, probably one of the most consistent of the ones we've done. We do these a lot over Southern California. Your numbers are staying pretty consistent all the way across, so that's easier to plan for because we know where you're heading and where you are right now. Redlands income levels. So the left is per capita income, individuals. On the right is median income household. So you are above on all three things compared to California and the United States. We always see that the median income household income is always higher because you have multiple people in the house making or earning money. Market Potential Index. This is something that Esri puts together every year based on what people in Redlands or any other city we look at would be willing, would probably participate in based on purchases and based on the demographics they have. So we ran these for general sports for Redlands. You can see tennis, golf, soccer, all above the national average. The blue is the national average. And as you can see, the chart goes down from there. Fitness MPI, you're above it on every single one of them, which makes sense. Redlands is a very healthy city. Got the big bike race every year, which is always exciting. Just had that. So the fitness MPI, very high for Redlands, above the national average. Also on outdoor activities, bicycling, mountain biking, backpacking, hiking, all those things above the national average. Fishing, freshwater, if we were in San Bernardino, up in Big Bear probably would work. So. We did a program assessment looking at the programs that the city runs. We looked at kind of the 5 key areas: active adult, athletics, culture enrichment, events, and health and fitness. And we looked at things of the national program distribution and the national average distribution. So you can see we look at it in kind of 6 different ways. If the program's in a launch phase, rising, stable, max, decline, canceled. So you can see decline and cancel, you're very, very low. You're right there in that max stable area. You're very closely aligned in the bottom 2 with national average. You're actually above the national average in your stable and maxed, and not as much in your launch and rising. So we use these things to make some of the recommendations you saw in the program assessment. We also looked at all of your parks and facilities. I've always loved Redlands parks. I've lived in Riverside for over 45 years. I love coming out here. Just really cool historic parks. So we checked all of your parks and your 3 facilities, looked at all the acreage. You have 256 acres of parks, and you have your 3 phenomenal facilities, especially the carriage house. I love that facility. We mapped everything so you can kind of see there generally where your facilities are, very evenly distributed around the city. We then looked at every park and we documented every bench, every bike rack, every bleacher, every whatever you have in the park has all been documented in a GIS
database that we'll turn over to the city. So that way you can see, we also rated all of those on a scales of 1 to 5, so you can know where your good, bad, and need to be replaced items are within the city. So every park, as you saw in the report, has this plan and has the database that goes into GIS. We also looked at all the parks from four different areas: access and connectivity, condition and functionality, safety and comfort, and maintenance. And that all came together. You can see each park listed on the left, those 4 categories at the top. Those are on a scale of 1 to 5, and then you have the overall assessment score. So anything over a 3 is usually really pretty good because it's taking in 4 different areas. Sometimes you have a really nice looking park, but the access and connectivity is maybe a little suspect. So the reason we do this is because it's not to say your parks are great or not great. It's to say if we need to do improvements, what parks do we need to do and where do we need to do those in? So if you take Franklin Park, for example, it's a 2.4, but we really are lacking in access and connectivity. So we need to think about what we can do to make that park more accessible. So that's kind of how we look at this in an overall in overall ratings. We had a very robust public outreach. Redlands was very interested in being involved. The residents were great from a variety of different ways. We had over 1,200 participants, which is about maybe 300 or 400 more than we normally get for a city this size. The statistically valid surveys returned were 414. Our target was 350, so way over that. Over 755 online community surveys, again, way higher than we normally get. We had a lot of stakeholder meetings, of which many of you were at those early on, and our 2 public input meetings. So very robust, very good input, very excited about what we had here, and not that weren't surprised. Redlands is very involved in its community, which was great. We did a statistically valid survey, which was the mail out. Some of you may have got those, some of you may not. We don't know who's going to get them. But again, the goal of 400 was I said 350. The goal was 400. And so the results. This is the demographic. So we did the demographics at the beginning. You saw that. What this survey company does is make sure that the people who take the survey matches your demographics. If you look at these numbers compared to what you see at the beginning that Esri gives us, then you'll see a very, very close match. Because we want to make sure that everybody is reached. It doesn't just go to one group or to one age group. This is very promising. The national average for people that use their parks in the city is 81%. In Redlands, it's 87%. So that's great. People definitely want to use your parks, and you see that by when you're out there visiting those. How your parks are rated: excellent or good. National average 79%, Redlands 62%. The only challenge here is the parks are old, and we're working on that, getting those things fixed. Texonia is the next one on the list here to get fixed up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I think the goal is just to continue to do those improvements and bring the great bones in the park up to standard. And this is the reasons to prevent you and your household from visiting more often. In fear of criminal activity in the park, do not feel safe in the park, lack of shade. A lot of these things have to do with just the trees are old, they're big, people can't see when they're in there, the lighting may be a little bit older. So looking at ways to fix some of those things and make people feel a little bit safer when they go to the park. But they do want to go to the park. You had 87% that use the parks on a regular basis. So. Program participation, again, above the national average. You have 36% of your residents are using that. With some of the program changes we recommended, you can probably get that up to 40 to 45, even 50%. So, but you're already off to a good start in where you're at right now. Rated programs, excellent or good, you're right on par with the national average, 80%. Again, recommending some things to help you get above that. The goal is to get to the next level of excellent or good, not just, but you can see poor is only 5%. So even use 95% of your residents, it's either fair to excellent, and only a few and say that it's poor. Top barriers to participation. So on the left side is the national averages. I don't know what is offered is always number one. I don't care how well you do a outreach, how many brochures you have. People always think they don't know what's offered. Yours is a little higher than average. So we've talked to the staff about ways to advertise that more and get the information out better. But again, the rest of your numbers are pretty consistent with what the national average is, and we've recommended some ways to target some of those things. This is really good. The blues are positive, grays just neutral, but indicate your level of agreement with the following statements and provide that your parks and Redlands provide access to gathering and open spaces. So 87% feel that's a plus. Makes Redlands a more Redlands a more desirable place to live. Again, we over 80%. So you can see the majority of those are blue. So that's real positive. The residents really see your parks as a positive thing in their life, and that's a great thing. And so they'll be very supportive of things that you're doing to improve them. We always ask this question: if you had $100, how would you allocate the funds in the Parks and Recreation category? So the majority, improvements to existing parks, pools, and outdoor recreations, that's 33%. Improvements to existing indoor, another 10%. So you can see that about 44 to 45% are fix what we have, let's upgrade what we have. Only about 21% are saying let's go out, or 31% saying let's go buy new stuff. So there's a place for that and a place to do new things, but I think the focus here is really going to be on what you're already doing. That's improving what you already have, because you've got a great set of structure here at Parks. What is the maximum amount of additional tax revenue you would be willing to pay? It's interesting, this follows right along up some of the things you've been talking about tonight. But so you can see that in the blue, pink, or magenta, and yellow, anywhere between $6 to $9 per month would residents would be willing to do that if they know it was going towards the park. So that's really good. That's over half of your residents feel that anywhere between $6 and $9 would be something they would be willing to pay to make it better. So that's a good thing to think of as you go forward in raising funds to do some of these improvements. We also just asked gender identity. This is just to compare with demographics. You can see it's almost 50-50, which matches your demographics in the city. And then looking at it, your race and ethnicity, again, matching these to the ESRI demographics we talked about at the beginning. This all leads to what we call a priority investment rating. This ranks all of the elements, in this case, all of the facilities amenities, from the number one needed item down to the desired, down to the least desired or least needed. And what this really means is that this is what can most people use. So it doesn't mean that community centers and dog parks, which are down in the middle, are not good or not needed, or tennis courts. I look at it like this: if you say everybody needs water, okay, and I would look at the council and you've got three people have water and you don't. So you would say, I have a need for water, and you three would say, I don't have a need for water. So your need would go further down. So that's how you look at this. People have a need for the top things, and they don't have those. Obviously, we don't have any splash pads. We don't have a swimming pool. We would like to have more restrooms. So those are things that are highest priority. It doesn't mean those other things cannot be improved. It can't be added. But these are where you're going to get your most bang for your buck for the most residents are going to be in the top part of this chart. Do the same thing for the programs and activities. Adult and fitness wellness programs, always at the top. Those are very popular right now. Community special events, you do a lot of those already. People like those. Those are very popular. Recreation, swim, pools, and things are going higher and higher on these lists nowadays, with everything getting a little bit warmer in the summer. So you can see all the rest of the list there are things that are important as you do your programs. These are the things you need to focus on that the residents are looking for. This leads to a level of service, what we call level of services. What do you have, and is there a need, does it exist for more of that? So the top four things are your parks, neighborhood, community, pocket, and regional. You can see in the middle, under 24 standards, there's a need of about 5 acres for neighborhood parks. Everything else, you already meet the standard. And this is what we project into the future. So we're projecting down into 2034. And you can see at the bottom down here, we've got the population estimated in 24 and 34. So we can see that there's some things here. If you look at pickleball courts, there's no need existing now because you have those. But as you move into 10 years from now, you're probably going to need at least one more court, it says, based on this chart. So this just gives us a way to say, what do you have that you already meet a standard, and what are you going to be needing to add now or over the next 10 years? That leads to equity maps. So we map every single element in your city from community parks. The circle, or the dot in the middle, is the location of the park. The green circle is, in this case, we're saying 2 acres per 1,000 people. So you have to go that far out of that circle to get 2,000 people. So your community parks match pretty well over almost the entire site. The dashed line is Collazo, which at the time was not done yet. I don't know if it is yet, but yeah, at the time it was future. So we wanted to make sure we noted it was future at that point. Looked at neighborhood parks again. The blue are others, which in this case is school district. So it's the middle school and Orangewood High School that we use. So we want to mark those separate because you can't use those all day. So you can see your neighborhood parks are pretty well distributed, but that's the one thing we said we needed about 5 more acres of neighborhood parks. So we would look to say, where can we do that down in the south part of Redlands? Pocket parks, very well covered over the whole entire city, so not really a need for those, which shows up in that level of service. Trails, man, your whole south of the Redlands, I've ridden my bike out there a lot. It's really spectacular trails. We actually worked on Orange Blossom Phase 1 and 2 trail, which is great. So that's there in the middle. So just some more trails up by the river, which would be great, somewhere in the middle. But you've really covered way more than most cities we work with. Your trails are very, very well mapped out. Picnic shelters, that was a high on the list of things needed because you really only have 3 locations where you have those. A lot of the city doesn't have access to those within a close radius, so we want to look at adding those. Shade shelters, a lot more shade happening, so those were further down on the list. You'll see that, but again, that's where those are located, so it's easy to go on this map and find out where you need to put some more. Playgrounds, very well covered on the north, pretty much the northern half of the city. And then if we were going to be adding any more, a lot of the south is all in the hills and so forth, so you probably couldn't put any down there. But again, you're very well covered in playgrounds, and that was not a need that was showing up on the level of service. Dog parks, you've got the one at Fort Park. It covers, based on the one site for 30,000 people, most of the city. But if you were going to put another one in, we want to recommend the northern section part of the city. Skate parks, you have the one at Sylvan, and so you definitely could be using some more of those, and that does show up in that level of service. Ball fields, again, the blue is the middle school and the high school, and then the Collazo was, again, a future at the time when these maps were done. We can update the map if you'd like. It doesn't not hard to do, but your ball fields are kind of up in that northwest part of the city, nothing down on the east as much or the south. Multi-purpose fields, rectangular. Obviously, your sports park, you have one of the biggest ones in the area, covers a lot of people. You also have the Collazo, which is now in place, and the other facilities you have there as well. So very well covered fields. Those do not show up as a need in your city, which is usually pretty up on pretty high on the list for most cities. Basketball courts, again, you have some at the school, and then you have the two parks you have those at. Tennis courts, again, you've got the ones at the school, and then you have ones at Ford Park, and then your famous pickleball courts. Your facility at the community center is phenomenal. We've been there several times seeing everybody play, so that's great. You can see it serves quite a bit of your city based on the recommended level. And you have the two at Ford Park, or the four at Ford Park, that show up as well. So, probably as you saw the level of service, you may need to add 1 or 2 more over the next few years because it's not going away, as you notice. We first did this plan in 2013 in Carlsbad. People showed up with these little paddles and they were yelling for the sport card pickleball, and I had no idea what it was. So we had to look it up online. And people said it was a fad, And I kept seeing it get bigger and bigger. And it used to be at the very bottom, it wasn't even on the list for a long time. And it's now moved its way up. It's about midway. So it's not going away. It is definitely here to stay. So I'm glad you guys are accommodating the residents with that. Splash pads, you don't have any. You will have one at Texonia Park, which is great. So that's in our recommendations, and that's going in. That's going to be exciting because that's something that's very popular with residents nowadays. Indoor fitness recreation space, you've got your three centers, which cover a good portion of the city, but definitely you'll see in their level of service there is a need to do some more. And that's just something you want to plan for in the future, not something you have to do right now. It's a great facility you're planning, that new safe, what was it? It's called Safe? The one you were talking about earlier. Yeah, that's a pretty cool facilities. Outdoor swimming pool, again, you don't have any of those. So I don't think we even recommended that. The cost of a pool right now is pretty phenomenal just to build it and then take care of it. So what we do recommend is to try and partner with the schools. JCSD did that. They started doing swimming lessons at the school. So those are things that you could definitely do it, but we'd obviously recommend doing a feasibility study before you dove into that, because it could definitely be a very expensive project. So we have a recommended park improvement plan. This is just a cover sheet we have, and this will be handed over to Tabitha and her staff. But this kind of is a summary breakdown. So right now, with all the projects that we're recommending and the projects you already have on the books, you have about $8 million in funded projects that are planned. There's funding available for those. A lot of that's at Texonia, which is primarily what the $7 million is. You have some for trails. We have the planned need funding, so things we're recommending, things that the city already had in the books, that about $35 million there. And then we also have what you've completed in the last 5 years, is down there. So that will, as those projects move forward, the staff can update that Excel sheet, and these numbers will change on a regular basis. So it becomes basically a evolving action plan for the staff to use as they move forward. We met with city staff and had what we call values, mission, and vision, kind of looking at the department and seeing what they look at. So they looked at the department core values were basically teamwork, integrity, enjoyment, and safety, tied in with the city core values. We looked at the department mission was to preserve history, celebrate community, and deliver exceptional service. Easy to remember. And then we cut the vision down to a real simple thing, to be the go-to place. Our goal with these is to make any new staff that comes in can memorize these things quickly, and they're the face of the city. They're the ones that the residents deal with on a daily basis. So we want to make sure they know what the goal and the mission is of the city so we can express that to the residents. Big moves, again, recommending securing and expanding dedicated funding sources, which you're in the process of doing that now. Obviously, safety, security, and accessibility was a big key. Texonia is handling some of that. We're doing some work at Sylvan Park now with a new restroom and a new accessibility for that restroom. So you're already moving that along as far goes. Addressing deferred maintenance and facility upgrades. That's really the big thing. We see a great park system here. It just needs some tender loving care, and you're already on that road, and just continue on that road for sure. And then a marketing plan. Obviously, we were hearing from the residents they didn't know what was being offered, they didn't know what was going on. So I know Tabitha and her staff are already working on some of this stuff to help get the word out on what things are going on in the city, in the department. And then optimize staffing and operations. I know staff's a little low. I've talked to some of the staff. They're looking for more people. So keep supporting that because, like I said, the Parks Department and the Community Services Department is your front line. I mean, they're the ones that residents see mostly. They're never going to see the rest of us. They see them, and it's really supporting them and keeping that moving forward is very helpful. That's it. Pretty quick, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
So I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you and Tabitha, your staff, and the Parks and Recs Commission for all the work they did to put into this park master plan. I know a lot of details in it. I think some of my questions were already answered about the funding, but I did want to bring attention to the top priority on the staff report, the items rating 130 or plus. I noticed the first two bullets and the last bullet are kind of, they're similar in biking and hiking and walking trails. And of course, the swimming pools, is probably the hardest one to do. Of these, would it, and I apologize for not being able to get the questions answered to staff in time, but I'm going to ask anyway, would we be able to add and take something off the top priority list, the bullets here? And the reason why I'm asking is I would like to add, and like I said, the first two bullets, multi-use hiking, biking, and walking paths. The next bullet is walking paths in parks. The last one is bicycle and pedestrian access to parks. I think they're kind of very similar. I would like to see the consideration of adding either at the bottom of the list, but the pump track for Sylvan Park. I know the Parks Commission had been discussing that. At one point, it was high on the priority list, and then it dropped off. Knowing not necessarily the funding is there to secure that, but at least to be put it on there for a future project and identified as a future project. So I would like to kind of get some feedback on that.
Yeah, this list here in the staff report, top high priorities, was a result of those surveys that were collected.
Okay.
But there's a page in the Parks Master Plan that had like improvements, and I had listed I went over like projects that we have completed over the last 2 years working through this. We had the restrooms, we had, there was the Orange Blossom Trail that was completed. So some of these things have kind of occurred as we were working on this document. I would refer to that page that's in the Parks Master Plan because I left the BMX pump track for Sylvan Park as a fiscal year 26-27 as a priority.
Yeah, she'd make that. I add that change at the end. So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a list where we kind of laid out like our wish list of.
Okay.
We hope these things get.
Yeah.
done.
No. And I think for me, I would like to support that out in the future. And thank you for letting me know that it's within the report. And I'll go back and look at it. And I want to make sure that we don't lose that opportunity for that activity for that demographic that uses them, and I heard it's very successful. So I know, thank you for keeping it on the books.
Of course, and we have the plans are done. So if funding does come available, we come along, we'll be able to put that at Sylvan Park. I also wanted to let the council know that the Parks and Rec Commission had a priority list, and that was incorporated into the master plan as well as the document for us to refer to.
Very good, thank you. That's all my questions.
Mayor, that appears on page 20 of the master report.
Executive
The master
summary
plan.
and at the end too. We got page 20 is where it's at.
Yeah, and also page 132.
Great, thank you.
You finished?
Yes.
I had proposed last year sometime that we'd like to look at maybe going to the high schools because they have pools. We have no pool in Redlands. When I grew up there, we had the big Sylvan plunge that was there, and that was very helpful. But we also used Redlands High School, the recreation department. And I don't know exactly what we did, but this was way before I was on the city council. But I get a lot of people, especially now when it gets over 100 degrees, and it'll be like that between now, although it's a little cooler than we normally have. But, starting July, it gets pretty hot until almost into September. And why reinvent the wheel when we already have some maybe we can look into?
And we've had some discussions, an invitation to sit down with our Redlands Unified School District. And the feedback that we're getting is that they're utilizing those pools on those days in the summer for their activities, but there's still an ongoing conversation and hopefully opportunities that we can utilize. Because I remember that time we used to go to Redlands High School pool because there was not a Sylvan plunge, and each of the high schools have their own swimming pools, but we'll continue that talk. I know we had asked the city manager to open up conversations with our school district partners.
Yeah, we did reach out to them when you first asked about 2 or 3 years ago. They said that they were utilizing their pools throughout the summer. So we went to the YMCA and we contracted with them for some pool time. However, I don't think it was really that advantageous to people. We didn't get a lot of people using it. And then you asked again, we went back to the school system again, and they said that they were using the pools still. So,
What were they using it for? School's out.
they said they use it during the summer.
And
They have summer school, and they also, I think they run their own programs.
And I think the other activity that we can look into at mutual agreement is with their tennis court facilities to adopt, and see if there's any willingness to try to open up more facilities for our pickleball. They have a number of school facilities that we use for baseball and softball. It would seem like it would be a kind of an easy way to.
Remember, we did have a splash pad in Sylvan Park at one time, but that went over like a lead balloon. Didn't last long.
But so I think as a matter of discussion for the staff and for the commission and for the public, we are conscious of some of these shared spaces because they are there. They sit there vacant. Nobody's using them. So we're actively wanting to strike up a conversation how we can utilize those tennis courts.
Go ahead. No, you had your.
Just a couple of quick notes for those of us who live on the west side of town. I'm excited to see in this priority list Brookside Park and development of new amenities as well as replacement of playground equipment, a splash pad, and a skate park. That is very exciting. I also think that Heritage Park is completely underutilized and could include a playground at some point, or at least more amenities. I have to be honest and say a lot of us who live on the west side and have little ones go to Loma Linda. Citrus Trails Park is amazing, and I hope that we can turn Brookside Park or Heritage Park into something like that.
It's still a relatively new park, so a lot of people don't know it's there.
There's nothing to do there other than walk around.
Yeah,
That's
you
it.
got a point. We do have an amphitheater. Maybe they could have some theater there.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes. What type of grant funding opportunities are we looking for when it comes to funding things like the pump track, so that we're not dipping into the general fund?
On the pump track, we could search. We actually hired a consultant for Texonia Park to try to get us a match grant that was unsuccessful. But there was about $300,000 that we were able to secure, and then the $1 million from Aguilar's. that we were able to. So the grant funding for Texonia was about 1.3 that we've done. But we can look into the pump track, the BMX. I don't know if there's anything available out there, but we can definitely look into it.
Also got some funding for Sylvan for the restroom, right?
Sylvan was there's another grant there that we got for about $300,000.
I also wanted to ask, I'm aware that the county does a lot of grant funding to certain projects. I know there's one supervisor who's fond of making sure the Parks and Recreation is well funded. So hopefully we could reach out to, this is Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. I've seen him, give $1 million to a local community who has a inclusive park coming soon. And so hopefully there's a willingness to share some of that.
We can definitely continue to look.
Joe's great.
Talked to Don Rowell, the 3rd District Supervisor. After all, she is a resident of Redlands, so it's a reminder that, take care of her hometown.
Okay. I do see one speaker slip on Zoom. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Rich O'Donnell, it is your turn.
Good evening. I won't go on about the value of the information, but there's a lot. My personal survey says that proper maintenance of existing parks should be done before adding new amenities. Prospect Park is mentioned in this document a few times, starting with the introduction. It is called an iconic landmark. There it sits, a mile up the hill from the council chambers, with old irrigation pipes sticking out of the ground and unburied PVC lines from the replacement irrigation laying all over. One has to watch one's footing on the dirt roads in spots because the sprinklers erode them. Are we short of dirt? The curbs aren't maintained, contributing to the problem. And beyond the standing dead trees and stumps, there is a serious need for an arborist to cull invasive trees. I could go on. Now I'm really talking about the park here, the park that hundreds of people visit every day and people go to for wedding pictures and such, not the carriage house. If the city really wants to reconnect with the timeless beauty of Prospect Park that the plan describes in the conclusion, it is time to get real. There is a lot of work to be done, even though I believe the survey projected a 4.75 out of 5 maintenance rating for Prospect Park. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any. All right. What's the wish of the council?
I move that Resolution 8726 adopting a Parks Master Plan and determine that the adoption of the master plan is exempt from California environmental quality pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Barrich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. We are pulling item K5 from the agenda. Going on to item K6, consideration of fiscal year 26-27 Facilities and Community Services Department annual agreement and purchase orders for the total amount not to exceed $8,587,250.04 and a total not to exceed the amount of $17,477,073.38 and determine that the approval is exempt from environmental review pursuant to Section 1503061B3 of the state guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Community and Services Director Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The Facilities and Community Services Department routinely procure goods and services necessary to support city operations, including but not limited to fleet maintenance, facility upkeep, and park services. The proposed agreements and purchase orders included in this report are included in fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget and are consistent with the city's purchasing policies. This concludes my report.
Any questions for staff? Any comments? I don't have any speaker slips. I don't see anybody on Zoom.
I have a question about Redlands Ironwork. Is those for fences that we have around our park?
Multiple things. It's
like fabrication. So you've got fence, you've got welding that we use out in Fleet. There's building maintenance.
Around our skate park is real nice.
That would be something.
That would be something that would be considered there. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, what's the wish of the council?
I move that the city council determine approval of the fiscal year 2026-27 facility community service department agreement and annual purchase order is exempt from environmental review pursuant to 15061B3 of the state guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. And I move to approve an amendment to an agreement with Redlands Iron Works, and I move to approve the purchase order as set forth by staff report.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. Moving on to item K7, consideration of First Amendment to a non-professional service agreement with BrightView Landscape Services, Inc. for sports field maintenance, increasing the total amount compensation not to exceed $1,202,806 $625, and determine the approval of the First Amendment to the non-professional service agreement exempt from the environmental review pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the state guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Community and Facility Services Director Crocker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is an amendment to our current agreement with BrightView Landscape Services, and this is to add Collazo Park to services for sports field maintenance. The additional cost for this agreement amendment is $121,507, and this is for a 3-year term.
Okay.
I'm available for any questions.
I don't have any speaker slips, and I don't see anybody on Zoom.
I'm just questioning $121,000 extra, or $121,500 for one extra field. That seems a little high. Because you said
For 3 years, so it'll be, I don't know, you're gonna make me do math. It's 121,000, so 40,000.
well, maybe I guess
A year?
I don't know. I haven't
A
mowed
year
my lawn
for what?
lately, so yeah. Okay. All right. We added one field. It just seemed.
It's for about $40,000 a year to add the fields over. So there's 2 fields over at Collazo Park. You have the baseball field, and then you'll have the multi-purpose fields there. That's the football field, but could be used for both.
Okay, so you're talking about the Junior All-American
Yes.
football field we have. Okay.
Yep.
Is the $1,202,625 the total agreement with the new park added?
Yeah, that 1.2 is going to include all of the other services we have as part of this agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I don't have any speaker slips. I don't see anybody on Zoom.
Yeah, I move the city council determine approval of the First Amendment to the non-professional services agreement with BrightView Landscape Service Incorporated for sports field maintenance is exempt from environmental review pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the state's guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act, and I move to approve the First Amendment to the non-professional services agreement with BrightView Landscape Service Inc. to increase the current 3-year agreement amount by $121,507, expanding sports field maintenance services, and amend total compensation to a not to exceed amount of $1,202,625 over a 3-year term.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Barrett.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. Item K8, consideration of First Amendment to a non-professional service agreement with BrightView Landscape Services, Inc. for Citywide Landscape Maintenance Services.
It's no, it's a duplicate. It's a different one.
Increasing the total compensation to an amount not to exceed $2,466,662, and determine the approval of the First Amendment to the non-professional service agreement is exempt from the environmental review pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the state guidelines implementing implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Facilities and Community Services Director Crocker.
Thank you again, Mayor, and members of the council. So this is an amendment with the same company, BrightView. They provide the overall maintenance services too. So they have the two contracts. This one is to add also the Collazo Park for full service maintenance. And this park was annexed into like a CFD. So this includes mowing and the landscape maintenance around those sports fields. The additional cost for this amendment is $134,448, and this again is for the 3-year term with BrightView.
We have no in-house people that do those, because I've seen some of our, do we have our own employees, or we subcontract all the maintenance to this particular company?
No, we do. We also have staff,
That's what I thought.
doing the in-house work as well.
I've seen our people out there, so I was wondering why we needed.
A lot of the CFD areas, so our guys our crews are designated to our parks, our existing parks. The incorporation of this one, we do contract out a lot of the CFD areas. The CFD areas are the ones with the housing development, and this park was a CFD area.
Trust me, people will ask me that, so thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any speaker slips. I don't see anybody on Zoom. What's the wish of the council?
I move the City Council determine approval of the First Amendment of the non-professional services agreement with BrightView Landscape Services Incorporated is exempt from environmental review pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the state's guidelines implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. And I move to approve the First Amendment to the non-professional services agreement with BrightView Landscape Services, Inc., to increase the current multi-year agreement amount of $2,332,174 by $134,488, expanding citywide landscape maintenance services, and amend total compensation to a not-to-exceed amount of $2,466,662.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Councilmember Baird?
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda?
Yes.
Councilmember Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Saucedo?
Yes. Item K9, consideration of city manager's proposed 2-year budget for fiscal years 2027 and 2028, and the resolution numbers 8794 and 8804, interim assistant city manager Garcia.
I'll kick it over to City Manager Duggan.
All right, so we're going to go through these slides quickly because you've gotten this information before, but it will help the public understand how we went about arriving at this budget recommendation. Tonight, we're going to go through a little bit of the timeline of how we got here, also the reasoning behind the recommendations that were made. So, first, we started with the council on May 15th. We released the budget on the city website for anyone to see. And then we had a briefing, which was an open meeting to the public on Monday, May 18th. Then brought it forward for council consideration on June the 2nd. And here we are tonight. So what remains before the council is essentially the same budget that has been presented to you really twice before. We believe it is a very sound 2-year plan. This is also the plan that we submitted to Standard & Poor's for our rating, and they gave us very high marks for what we are looking to do. We've tried to hit strategic priorities. Certainly, the projects we've talked about are within there, and our staffing levels remain almost unchanged. There are a few positions that were approved for this next year, but the departments had to absorb the cost, so we didn't add any additional cost for additional employees. If we weren't to pass the budget tonight, we were going to ask for a continuing resolution to take us through July. However, our recommendation is definitely to go ahead and move forward tonight. We did receive direction from the June 2nd meeting, and really down at the bottom,
one of the things in direct consultation with the fire chief, we definitely have fire department related additions as far as a commitment from me and from the chief to certainly, and our plan all along was to establish the design and funding for both the police building and Fire Station 264. After that happens, we were going to then move directly to stations 265 and 266 to see where they needed to be as far as our planning in future years. The fire chief has also brought to me a plan to potentially add some paramedics. And so I've committed to the council to do all the analysis we need to bring back recommendations to you in January, which I had told the fire chief for all new additions to personnel anyway that were going to occur in the second year, we just really didn't consider them because at this time that we were going to wait until January anyway to do that. So they're still in the mix for us to look at to see if we could find funding for them. So definitely after COVID, we've seen a slowdown now. Property tax is moderating. We did realize a few years where we had some pretty good spikes in property tax, but that's starting to level off. Same thing with the implementation of Measure T. We saw the influx of that sales tax coming in, but that's also moderating. We do find that costs are continuing to rise, just as everyone's experienced inflation, so is the city. We are adding debt service for the Safety Hall, Fire Station 264, and the library HVAC system. We are by law required to pass a budget. We can do the continuing resolution like we talked about, but it's a much better signal certainly to the bond markets that we'll be going to if we have a budget that's already planned and adopted. We do have the ability to amend budgets though during the year depending on the wishes of the council. I should point out that in order to afford both the debt service and the authorization that the council has given to our negotiating teams for MOUs, we did go through the budget and we had about $4 million in reductions. Some of them were things we had stepped up addressing deferred maintenance. Now that we've caught up in some areas, we're hoping to get it on a more routine schedule. But there was a number of things that we did cut out of the budget in order to get where we are today. So our strategic focus certainly was, everything we want to do when we're budgeting is to make sure it's a benefit to the community and the actual taxpayers. We do look at the financial goals of the city, making sure that our budgets are balanced, that we have appropriate reserves. Certainly a goal that we have is to be able to ride out any cyclical happenings of the economy. So the economy will dip from time to time. We don't want to be so tight that we have to go into immediate layoffs or anything like that. We do value our employees greatly. There's a lot of investment there, and we want to make sure that we can ride out anything cyclical. Something major like COVID is not cyclical, and we had to take pretty drastic action back then, but we want to make sure we can keep services flowing to the citizens, even in the tighter times. We do recommend that we undertake a thorough review of all of our programs and services through the departments. So I'll plan to begin that this fall so that we can bring back any recommendations to the council in the future for things that maybe we've been doing them for a long time, but they've outgrown their usefulness, or maybe we've found a way to use technology or some other way of getting something done that might be more efficient. We mentioned slowing growth trends, certainly in our revenues. Our expenditure growth does continue. We are trying to hold that as much as possible, but we do have added budget pressures that we have incorporated in this budget. Existing service levels have become more expensive, so we'll be watching those over the next few years. We've mentioned the MOU negotiations that are ongoing, and that we did need targeted reductions through this budget. And we are also predicting that we'll have to make reductions in a few years too to keep us on track. I'll cover that more detail in a future slide. More or less, we've talked about these, reprioritized to preserve some core operations, the $4 million in reductions. I typically give departments a fairly low target. It was 3% in addition to this current budget that they could come and ask for things. They also can ask for supplemental items, but we didn't have a lot of money for supplemental items, but it's good for us to know what are those things, if we had more money, that we would be looking to spend money on, so we can see what's out there that we're not able to afford now, but we might be able to afford in the future. We have but we do, as part of the budget, have the new safety hall, Fire Station 264, replacing the cooling tower at the Smiley Public Library. We do have built into it the Goodnight Inn transitional housing acquisition that we've talked about. And another thing that's opening that we're budgeting for is the Museum of Redlands. So we always want to make sure that we point out that there are risks to all of this because, we're going by our best professional estimates and recommendations, but certainly we don't know what's going to happen with the U.S. economy. The war on Iran has caused some increased inflation, according to most economists. Never can explain the stock market because it's been irrationally high since COVID. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Some people believe there is an AI bubble, but they might be able to ride through it. Or we may end up having something like the dot-com bust of 2000. No one really knows. Claims and litigation, I will say that those have been shrinking over time, so I'm very pleased with that. There's not quite as many issues out there as we were facing the last few years, and I've worked very closely with the city attorney to make sure we're well aware of what's going on with all of our litigation and that we're managing that as well as possible. We do have our MOUs that we've talked about, and until those are finally settled on, we're not sure what the ultimate costs are. Construction cost escalation and bid uncertainty could come with the fire station. However, we were very pleased with the way the bids came in for the police building. So we're hoping that'll continue, but that's 9 to 12 months away probably before we'll get to bidding that project. And then we're going to continue to look at our spending very closely to make sure it's prioritized appropriately. So 6-year financial forecast, we built in an inflation factor of about 2.5%. We've kept our revenue models as steady. In the past, we've given the council looks at different scenarios, things like recession, what that does to our revenues. I quit talking about recession a few years ago because everyone was certain we were going into one, and then it never came. So right now, it's steady as you go. It's not going like gangbusters, but moderate growth is really what we're basing our predictions on. And the running total for unassigned fund balance helps frames our decisions. We're usually trying to peg that around $20 million, a few above, a few million above, a few million below. Aren't going to cause us a lot of problems, but when we start dipping too low, then we cannot adjust to those cyclical issues. Plus, it's another stopgap towards we have other reserves, and combined, that allows us to better handle emergencies and natural disasters and things like that. So you've seen this many times before. We've got our 2026 estimate of where we are right now. We have our in blue, 27 and 28 biennial budget that were planned, and then we do a 4-year projection to see where we would be. You can see in 2029, we're predicting that we need to do a $4.5 million cut from the budget in order to keep our ending fund balance where it needs to be by 2032. Now, we'll have 2 more budget cycles to go before 2032 is hit, so we'll be able to make some more adjustments. I want to point out that it's not $4.5 million cut every year for 4 years. It's one cut made in 2029, but carried through for those 4 years. So it can be a little bit deceiving looking at this because it looks like every year we've got to do that, but no, it's not quite so bad. But I really like the way we do this because it gives us an idea of where we need to be. Our fund balance has been high, and we've been really keeping it in that area, knowing that we were going to take on some costs, some new debt and things like that, and now we're appropriately bringing it down. Again, we're in that $18 million range in 2031 is still within our acceptable. The reason we go to the white color in 2032 is because now we're dipping below our comfort zone, and we want to keep close eye on that. If it were to dip below 16, I'd come up with another color for it, and then I'd really be looking at what changes need to be made to recommend to the council. So you have motions before you tonight. Definitely recommend motion option 1, which is to adopt Resolution 8794.
Are there any questions from the city manager or assistant city manager? Who wants to go?
Just a statement. I know we have to get this thing done, but I hate to have another meeting, but it would be nice if we had all 5 council members since this is a budget being adopted. But I'll go along with what everyone was okay doing it tonight. That's fine. But I just would like if Mayor Pro Tem was here.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem Shaw was at the first budget briefing, and so he's had an opportunity to ask questions of the budget. It hasn't changed much since that day, and so I believe we've gotten back to him on the questions he's asked. Plus, the budget can be amended at a later date. So unless the council has specific changes you want us to entertain tonight, I think it's ready to be passed with the knowledge that if we need to, we can have more discussion later on.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I know it's a living document, so it does change.
I just wanted to acknowledge every person that works for the city, from the top to the bottom. Thank you very much for your service to our community. It's my understanding that in some cases, folks may not be happy with the outcome with respect to our employees feeling reflected or seeing themselves reflected in this budget. I know that I've grown a lot since I've been on the council, and I think that moving forward, budgets in the future should reflect that priority that the people who work for the community should feel reflected in the budgets. And so moving forward, I'd like to see that. I'm not saying that we didn't make an effort here. We did. But yeah, the biggest stressors, as you mentioned, Mr. City Manager, is the inflation that's out there right now, and and the uncertainty with respect to how this administration operates. So knowing that, it makes things really challenging, especially with predicting the outcome of what revenues will look like in the future. So I appreciate the work that everyone's done on this budget, and again, everyone that works for our community.
Okay. Thank you. Before we go on for any more council comments or questions, I have a speaker slip. John Malcolm.
Hello, City Council. I'm not speaking for or against the proposed budget. I just want to bring something up that in the 2020 survey for Measure T, the first item on that list was address homelessness issues.
That was 21.8% according to page 7 of the PowerPoint that's available on the website. And then the next two are like limiting growth, preserving open spaces, which not to talk about a previous agenda item, but that's warehouse ban sounds like. And then the third one is not sure, nothing comes to mind. Everything below that is 10% or less of the people responding to that survey was, again, like 10% or less per item. Homelessness was 21.8%. Most of our funding for homelessness and HSD has been through grants, HAP and ERF, and that is extremely good to have grant funding, but just to bring it up at City Council, homelessness issues on Measure T, which last time we talked about the biannual budget was 15% of our revenue. Homelessness was by far the biggest issue in terms of the response to the Measure T, and I just want to bring that up.
Any other comments on
I think it would be good to note that since that survey, we've had a 30% reduction one year, a 30% reduction the next year, and then 8% reduction this year. So I believe our homeless efforts have really been bearing fruit.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis?
Yeah, I agree. I applaud everyone who's worked so diligently on this budget, interim Assistant City Manager Garcia and the finance team. Thank you all so much. I know that this is a really challenging task, especially with such an ambitious council. We've done a lot over the last several years. I'm so proud of the work we've done in reducing homelessness. And there was a slide a couple slides ago where you were noting some of the highlights of this budget in terms of the Museum of Redlands, the library enhancements, obviously the Goodnight Inn facility. I'm so proud of all of these great community initiatives that are happening in Redlands. I also want to echo my comments from last meeting along the lines of what the Measure T Oversight Committee members also shared. Police and fire, we're so lucky to have local police and fire departments who work so hard for this community. I'm really excited to see the capital improvements moving forward with our police station, our fire station 264. And I very much look forward to the January meeting and making sure that we fund Station 265 for the fire department and have that staffed adequately. I appreciate City Manager Duggan that we've had a lot of conversations about this in the last few weeks, and I'm happy with this timeline that's being projected and hope that my colleagues will also support this as we move forward as a priority in expanding our fire department and our capacity for emergency response and public safety.
I also want to compliment the city manager and Danielle, and I think it's a great budget. I went over it quite thoroughly. I think it's good. I think the taxpayers' money is well spent. It's put in the right areas that we need to address our problems here in Redlands. So if we just get through the negotiation with our employees, that's going to be great. So if we can finish that up.
Yeah, and I'll just echo all the comments that have already been made. I think this is a solid budget moving forward with all the competing interests that we have and still maintaining levels of service, levels of employees, and committing to the major capital improvement projects that have been listed. Still making sure that we're fiscally responsible with our taxpayers' revenue, and making sure that we continue operating at a high level of service with all our departments and all our employees. And I do want to thank, as was already mentioned, all the work that has gone into producing this budget, making sure that there are signals of support and signals of with the funding in all the departments. And I appreciate the departments reducing their budget to be able to take on the levels of reduction in funding to not be able to complete and do the work that they would so much like to do for this community's quality of life issues, our safety, and all the things that have already been mentioned. And again, I just want to echo my appreciation for the hard work that all of the city staff, city managers, and all the departments reflected in this budget. So thank you for that.
And Mayor, if I could, I just want to extend a special thanks to James Garland and Marie Dotwin. They were instrumental in putting the budget together. It really is a document that they poured their heart and soul into.
Yeah, no, and I know we really put them to task, and they've really given us the honest answers and the honest feedback that we need to make our decisions. And so it was really helpful to have that level of professionalism, and it's reflected in the financial awards that you get for the financing accomplishments that your department does. And I just want to echo the appreciation from me and the rest of the council. So what's the wish of the council?
As I make the motion, I'd like to say there's still a lot of work that we need to do as a council. So moving forward, I move to adopt city manager's proposed 2-year budget for fiscal year 27, 20, and 28, and adopt resolution number 8794, and move to adopt resolution number 8804, and direct staff to take the necessary. Okay, just the first one. Okay, strike the last bit of what I said.
Councilmember Tejeda made the motion and Councilmember Davis seconded. Okay.
Councilmember Barrich.
Yes.
Councilmember Tejeda.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes.
And Mayor Saucedo.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to item L, individual council member announcements and/or reports. I had 9 events. I'm going to defer naming them all, but I went to at least 9 events in the last 2 weeks.
I again attended the library board. Of course, first thing is when is the new museum going to open and things like that. I sure will come around to it. Also, I attended the boards and badges at the Police Officers Association put on. Fabulous. Those kids had a great time and using our new park. I guess it's still somewhat of a new park, but everyone that was there had a great time, and I want to thank the Police Officers Association for putting that on for the kids here and getting all the other support, because there's a lot of other people there that other businesses that came in out and supported our youth. So I think that's a good indication that, hey, we appreciate the kids out there, and we want to give them something to do. Thank the Police Officers Association for putting that on.
I echo that. I was at Boards and Badges, phenomenal event. It was exciting to see the winners of the skateboards be so thrilled with that and just enjoying a wonderful time at the skate park. Otherwise, Touch a Truck was phenomenal yet again this year. Those are the highlights for me.
Really hot.
It was hot, yeah.
Councilmember Tejeda?
Yes, sorry I missed the boards and badges. We had to leave town to tend to a very sick pet. Would have enjoyed being there. I know that. But on Sunday, our school, following that, on Sunday we had a graduation for my school. I met with a couple of stakeholders or residents from my community, District 2, and I also had attended a council briefing.
And I'll just quickly mention that this Saturday, the 20th, at Sylvan Park, the city will be celebrating our Juneteenth event from 10 to 3 o'clock, I believe. So come out and join and celebrating our Juneteenth. I'll adjourn this meeting, and to the next regular meeting of the City Council will be held on July 7th, 2026. I'll now call the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Redlands Public Improvement Corporation. I don't have any public comments. I don't see anybody on Zoom. The approval of the minutes of the Redlands Public Improvement Corporation of March 17th, 2026.
Move approval of the minutes.
I have a motion and a second to the approval of the minutes. Madam City Clerk?
Board Member Barrich.
Yes.
Board Member Tejeda.
Yes.
Board Member Davis.
Yes.
And Chair Saucedo.
Yes. Item N4, which is the consideration of resolution number 2026-02, authorizing certificates of participation and approving the ground lease agreement and assignment agreement and trust agreement and purchase agreement with respect to such certificates, and authorizing related actions in an amount not to exceed $85 million for the Safety Hall, Fire Station construction, and library HVAC improvement project interim assistant city manager Garcia.
Actually, sorry, Mayor, I need to recuse myself again as my residence is located within 500 feet of the proposed fire station.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Redlands Public Improvement Corporation, or RPIC, is a nonprofit benefit corporation associated with the city. Its role in this transaction is limited. It serves as a lease counterparty in the financing structure. The city leases the future Safety Hall facility and its site to the RPIC, and the RPIC leases that property back to the city. The city's lease payments are then assigned to the trustee and used to pay investors who purchase their certificates. And this item approves the necessary documents to execute the financing structure. And if there are any questions, staff is available to provide more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager Garcia. Are there any questions? I don't have any speaker slips. I don't see anybody on Zoom.
Okay, if there's a motion that needs to be made, I'll move to approve, adopt resolution number 2026-02.
Second.
Good enough?
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to make sure I have to
Second.
read it.
We have a motion and a second. Madam City Clerk?
Board Member Barrich,
Yes.
Board Member Tejeda,
Yes.
and Chair Saucedo.
Yes. Thank you. We now stand adjourned, and we'll see everybody on July the 7th, 2026. Have a good evening. Thank you for your patience.